Hello again. Welcome back to your 5-minute devotional stop with me, Amy Phillips. I'm on a journey moving from fear to faith, and I hope you'll join me for Just Believe. Hello, friends. So I got a suggestion to read The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. And I actually got it before the quarantine, but I thought, well, I'm pretty much living this now anyway, so I'll wait on reading this. But good thing I went ahead and picked it up because I was wrong. This book is so good now or anytime. Hurry is part of our outward behaviors, but this book is also about our internal thinking about how life is to be lived. The book focuses on our American way of living in hurry and our lack of rest as a culture. I just highly recommend it. But as I'm reading it, I'm really taking time to meditate and digest. Matthew 11:28-30 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Can you imagine that Jesus was never worried? What about that he was never late? Do you actually know anyone who lives like this? I actually do know one woman who lives this way, and she's never late. She never seems hurried. She literally tells me she only does what the Father says for her to do. Now, she does have an illness that creates in her a need to rely heavily upon what God is saying that she needs to do every day. So she has to listen and wait upon him for even everyday things that are needed. She lives in the unforced rhythms of grace. And I took that from the Message translation of that same passage. Listen to it and let it give you new meaning to that same verse. It says, "Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly." So many during this time have slowed way down, but are still not living freely and lightly, me included. I want you to hear that invitation to get away with him today, to find real rest. We have to actually be in the moment, living in the right now to be with him. We have to be unhurried enough to hear his voice. Jesus had no problem stopping for the one. He was not in a hurry. He always had time in his schedule for those who were in need. I love that passage from Mark 10. A blind man was crying out to Jesus as he passed by, and it says in Mark 10:49, Jesus stopped. Another translation says, Jesus stood still and said, "Call him." And they called him and said, "Take heart, get up, he's calling you." Do we have time for the one that could be right in front of us, whether that's a family member, a coworker, a neighbor? Are we too busy getting to the next thing, planning the next thing, or maybe just looking at our phones, making sure we didn't miss what others are doing or what's happening in the news when the person in front of us is in need of attention? Obviously, probably more of the latter those days since we're not seeing a lot of people. But I always think of that verse about entertaining angels unawares. And who knows how often we might miss these encounters if we don't have time for anything outside of our normal packed schedules. But unhurriedness is definitely not just what it can mean for others in our lives, but our own time with the Father. John Ortberg relates this conversation he had with one of his mentors, Dallas Willard. He says, "Not long after moving to Chicago, I called a wise friend to ask for some spiritual direction. I described the pace of life in my current ministry. The church where I serve tends to move at a fast clip. I also told him about our rhythms of family life. We are in the van driving, soccer league, piano lessons, school orientations, etc. I told him about the present condition of my heart as best I could discern it, and then I asked him, what do I need to do to be spiritually healthy? After a long pause, Dallas Willard responded, "You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life." Ortberg went on to write that he was waiting for more advice, but Willard had no other advice to give him. Indeed, it was the only advice he needed to hear. So hear it again from Dallas Willard. You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. Hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life in our day. Dallas Willard was saying spiritual health is based on this. Our relationship with the Father is absolutely based on a life of unhurriedness. So I'm musing on it, and I'm asking God to give me more ways to come out of this season at home with more room to breathe, more margin, to be prepared for the angel that might show up, or just the one in front of me. How can I purposefully not allow news, social media, TV, or anything else to invade my thoughts and my purposes? I've thought of some practical things like not sleeping with my phone in my room. I have one of those old school alarms, so I'm leaving my phone downstairs, and in the morning I can wake up and take my time thinking and praying before I ever start to imbibe what the world is telling me for the day. Maybe purposefully making sure we have several nights a week at home and set them aside for whatever God would want. Prayer time, worship time as a family, or alone. Making room for reading the Word of God, making room for books that help our lives, making room to breathe and to think and to hear what God is saying to us. Anxieties rise when we can't get our hearts to settle. Worry takes over when peace isn't invading our thoughts. So let's slow down internally. Let God meet us in the stillness. He wants to spend that time with you. Dear friends, do not fear. Just believe. You have a Father who loves you. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you feel encouraged and strengthened. If you want to connect with me, you can find me at amybphillips.com. See you next time.